Watchtower Study for the week of November 17th to 23rd, 2025. Study Article 37. Questions and Answers. Theme: the best way to respond to injustice. He kept hoping for justice, but look, there was injustice. Isaiah 5 verse 7. This week's article will focus on how Jesus' example helps us respond to injustice in a way that pleases Jehovah. Question 1 to 2. How do many people react to injustice, and what might we wonder about? Answer: many people today feel angry and upset when they see injustice. They watch unfair treatment happening because of race, gender, wealth, or corruption, and it makes them feel distressed. Some join protests, sign petitions, or support political leaders who promise change. Others try different forms of social action because they long to live in a fair and safe world. Additional comment: it is natural to feel troubled when we see unfair treatment. Even the prophet Habakkuk expressed similar feelings, asking Jehovah why injustice seemed to continue in the book of Habakkuk 1 verses 2 to 4. This shows that Jehovah understands how injustice affects us. Like Habakkuk, we may also wonder, how should a Christian respond? What can I do right now? Turning to Jehovah for guidance helps us stay calm and focus on what He promises to do through His kingdom. Question 3. Why is it understandable for us to feel angry about injustice? Isaiah 5 verse 7. Answer: it is understandable for us to feel upset when we see injustice because Jehovah created us in His image. Since He loves righteousness and justice, as stated in the book of Psalms 33 verse 5, it is natural for us to care about fairness too. Jehovah never behaves unjustly, and He wants His people to reflect that same quality. During Isaiah's time, Jehovah heard the cry of distress from those being mistreated, as shown in the book of Isaiah 5 verse 7. He cared deeply, and He took action against those who repeatedly ignored His law and treated others unfairly. This shows that Jehovah feels strongly about injustice, so it is no surprise that we feel the same way. Additional comment: when we feel troubled by injustice, remembering Jehovah's view brings comfort. In the book of Deuteronomy 32 verse 4, Jehovah is described as perfect in His activity and just and upright. So when injustice around us feels overwhelming, knowing that our God sees it clearly and will correct it helps us stay calm and trust in His timing. Question 4. What does an event found in the Gospels reveal about how Jesus views injustice? Answer: the account shows that Jesus cares deeply about people who are treated unfairly. When He saw the man with the withered hand, He was moved to help him. But the religious leaders did not care about the man's suffering, they only cared about their strict rules. Jesus felt grieved because their hearts were hard. This shows that Jesus hates injustice and cares for those who are hurting. Additional comment: from the book of Mark 3 verse 5, we see that Jesus looked at those men with indignation, being thoroughly grieved at the insensibility of their hearts. This scripture helps us understand that Jesus' anger came from compassion. He felt upset because the man was being treated without love. This teaches that Jesus always stands on the side of justice and mercy. Question 5. What must we remember about the anger we may feel regarding an injustice? Answer: we remember that it is natural to feel upset when something unfair happens. Even Jehovah and Jesus feel anger when there is injustice. But the anger humans feel cannot fix the situation. If anger stays too long or becomes too strong, it can hurt a person emotionally and even affect health. So the wise thing is to follow Jesus' example by handling unfair situations in a calm and godly way. Additional comment: from the book of James 1 verse 20, we learn that man's anger does not bring about God's righteousness. This reminds us that even when anger feels justified, it cannot produce the peaceful and fair outcome Jehovah desires. Keeping this scripture in mind helps a person choose patience and trust in Jehovah instead of letting anger take control. Question 6. What injustices were common when Jesus was on earth? Answer: Jesus saw many forms of injustice during His time on earth. The common people were heavily burdened by the religious leaders, who imposed strict rules but did not help the people. He also saw how the Roman authorities treated people harshly and unfairly. Even though many Jews wanted freedom from Rome, and some were ready to fight for it, Jesus did not join any movement for social change. When people tried to make him king, he moved away from them because he understood that God's kingdom, not human efforts, would solve injustice. Additional comment. From the book of John 6 verse 15, we see that when the crowd wanted to make Jesus a king, he withdrew to a mountain by himself. This shows that Jesus refused to place his hope in human governments. Instead, he stayed focused on God's kingdom, which is the only lasting solution to injustice. This helps us remember not to be pulled into worldly efforts that promise change, but to trust that real justice will come through Jehovah's arrangement. Questions 7 to 8. Why did Jesus not try to eliminate injustice when he was on earth? Answer. Jesus did not work with human governments to remove injustice because he understood that humans cannot rule themselves successfully. They lack both the right and the ability to govern fairly, and the world is influenced by Satan, who promotes injustice. Jesus also knew that even sincere humans are imperfect and cannot act justly all the time. Instead of trying to fix a system that cannot be repaired, he focused on the one solution that truly works, God's kingdom. That is why he spent his life preaching about the kingdom and assuring people who longed for justice that Jehovah would bring an end to all corruption and unfairness through that heavenly government. Additional comment. From the book of John 18 verse 36, Jesus said, "My kingdom is no part of this world." This shows why he refused to join political movements or social reforms. He knew that human governments cannot remove injustice, but Jehovah's kingdom can and will. Remembering this helps us stay focused on supporting the kingdom today rather than expecting lasting justice from imperfect human systems. Question 9. What convinces you that only God's kingdom will eliminate all injustice? Answer. We can be convinced that only God's kingdom will remove all injustice because Satan and imperfect humans are still the source of wrongdoing in the world. No human system can fully eliminate corruption or unfairness. By contrast, Jehovah's kingdom, ruled by Jesus Christ, is perfect and has the power to deal with the root causes of injustice. Supporting that kingdom means trusting that Jehovah will bring real, lasting justice for everyone. Additional comment. From the book of Psalms 72 verses 1 and 4, we are reminded to pray for the king to rule with justice and defend the oppressed. This shows that lasting fairness is not achieved through human effort, but through Jehovah's kingdom. Knowing this can give us confidence and peace, even when we see injustice all around us. Question 10. In what way are social reform movements out of harmony with Jesus' counsel found at Matthew 5 verses 43 to 48? Answer. Social reform movements are often motivated by anger or a desire for revenge, which can lead to conflict, unrest, or even violence. This is out of harmony with Jesus' counsel to love our enemies, pray for those who mistreat us, and show kindness to everyone. As Christians, we avoid actions that oppose the peaceful, loving example Jesus set. Additional comment. Jesus taught us to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Matthew 5 verse 44. This shows that real justice comes from following God's way, not from taking matters into our own hands. It helps us focus on being kind and patient, even when the world seems unfair. Question 11. What can test our determination not to support social reform movements? Answer. Our feelings of anger or frustration over being treated unfairly can test our determination. It can be tempting to join protests or movements that promise justice, especially when we feel personally wronged. Additional comment. Jesus said that his followers are no part of the world, John 15 verse 19. This reminds us that even when injustice makes us upset, we must rely on Jehovah and his kingdom, not human systems, to bring real justice. Question 12. Why is it wise to be selective regarding the information we take in? Answer. Being selective helps us control feelings of anger or frustration over injustice. If we constantly take in biased or sensationalized reports, it can make us upset and distract us from what really matters, trusting in Jehovah's kingdom. Additional comment. As Proverbs 24 verse 10 reminds us, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Limiting what we consume helps us stay strong and focused on the hope that God's kingdom will right all wrongs. Question 13. How can a good routine of Bible reading help us to maintain the right attitude about injustice? Answer. A regular routine of Bible reading and meditation can remind us that Jehovah sees all injustice and will act at the proper time. It helps us keep our anger in check and strengthens our trust in God's perfect sense of justice. Additional comment. As Job 34 verses 22 to 29 points out, God does not act wickedly, and the Almighty does not pervert justice. Meditating on scriptures like this helps us remain patient and confident that Jehovah will correct all wrongs in His own time. Question 14. What can we do to avoid contributing to this world's injustices? Answer. We can control our own actions and strive to imitate Jesus by showing love to others. This includes treating everyone fairly and with respect, even those who may act unjustly. Additional comment. Colossians 3 verses 10 and 11 reminds us to put on the new personality, which reflects God's justice and love. By living according to these qualities, we avoid adding to the world's injustices and demonstrate Jehovah's way of life. Question 15. What effect does our sharing Bible truth have on present injustice? Answer. Sharing Bible truth can transform hearts. People who learn Jehovah's ways can change from being aggressive or unfair to being kind, peace-loving, and just. Additional comment. Isaiah 11 verses 6 and 7, 9 shows the kind of peaceful world that will come when God's standards guide people's hearts. Even now, each person changed by Bible truth helps reduce present injustice and reflects Jehovah's justice in action. Question 16. Why are you motivated to share the kingdom hope? Answer. We are motivated to share the kingdom hope because it brings real comfort to people who are suffering from injustice. It gives them the assurance that Jehovah will one day remove all wrongs and establish a world of peace and fairness. Knowing this truth ourselves strengthens our faith and equips us to encourage others to rely on God rather than on human solutions. Additional comment. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 shows that Jehovah has a future of hope and purpose for those who trust Him. By sharing the message of God's kingdom, we help people see that real justice is coming and that they can find comfort and security in Jehovah's loving plan, even amid present difficulties. Question 17. How does Jehovah help us to cope with present injustice? Answer. Jehovah helps us cope with present injustice by teaching us through the scriptures how to understand the causes of injustice and how He feels about it. He shows us how to respond with patience, love, and faith rather than anger or despair. Knowing that His kingdom will soon bring real justice gives us hope and keeps us from becoming discouraged. Additional comment. Psalm 34 verses 17 to 19 reminds us that Jehovah hears the cries of the righteous and delivers them from their troubles. Even though we face unfairness today, we can rely on His care and guidance, knowing that He is preparing a time when all injustice will be removed. How would you answer? Question. Why does injustice disturb us so much? Answer. Injustice disturbs us because Jehovah created humans to reflect His qualities, and He values righteousness and fairness. When we see others treated unfairly, it goes against the way we were made and against Jehovah's standards. It touches our conscience and naturally stirs concern or even anger. Additional comment. Psalm 33 verse 5 reminds us that Jehovah loves righteousness and justice, so it is natural that we feel disturbed when others are treated unjustly. Our concern shows that we are in harmony with God's standards. Question. Why do we not support human efforts to fight injustice? Answer. Human efforts to fight injustice often fail to address the root causes. The world is under Satan's influence, and imperfect humans cannot fully correct injustice. Instead of relying on human systems, we put our hope in God's kingdom, which alone will bring lasting justice. Additional comment. John 18 verse 36 shows that Jesus' kingdom is no part of this world, reminding us that lasting solutions to injustice will come from God, not human governments. Question. What can we do when dealing with injustice? Answer. We can control our own actions by showing love, patience, and fairness, even to those who act unjustly. We can share the hope of God's kingdom with others and maintain a routine of Bible reading to strengthen our faith and perspective. Additional comment. Romans 12 verse 17 encourages us, do not return evil for evil to anyone. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of all men. By following this guidance, we can respond wisely while awaiting God's perfect justice. Thank you. Do you know that I can help you to prepare your assignments well in advance? Join my YouTube membership today and enjoy early help with your assignments, extra tips and exclusive videos, early access to new videos, access to my email address. Click the link in my comments section to join. Please share this video with our brothers and sisters. Thank you.